Hello, welcome students. I'm Deepak Kumar and we are back again with the same tutorial that we were doing earlier on list boxes and loops. And I will continue with certain other things that we were working on. So it's a running tutorial, and I guess I was at this point and I was demonstrating to you uh, while I was demonstrating this example to you, I actually ran up in a couple of things. One was that we decided to have 5 iterations of this loop, so we could capture the name of 5 cities. But apparently we started our counter from 0 and you could see that we landed up with 6 cities. And why that happened? Because we started our counter with 0 and the condition that while loop we had was counter is less than equal to 5. So obviously to run it for 5 times you would remove that equal to which is a less than and equal to comparison operator, and we'll leave it while the counter is less than 5. So now since it starts from 0 and the condition says the loop should continue while counter is less than 5, I'm sure you can understand that we will have 5 set of iterations. So it's important to understand the logic of your condition, which determines the behavior of the loop. Okay, so that's one thing. So now we will run this again and probably we'll see that we have 5 iterations of it. The other one was like here we were coding a remove button, and if I go back to the form design, we are trying to remove a city from the list box. So we said select a city and then click this button to remove this from the list box. So basically we are trying to remove a particular city from the list box. So select city and click the button remove city to remove it from the list box. Right, so this is what we have right here. Now in order to do that, I would obviously go to the event handler that we are programming on the click of the button. So as I double click, I go to the remove button underscore click event handler, and here what must I do is, in order to prevent that situation where if I don't select all item from the list box, and I demonstrated to you that if I don't make a selection, the list box dot show, which I have put here, actually shows an output of -1, if you remember. So if I display the position variable which captures the selected index of this list box, and if there is no selection, we noticed that the value that goes into the position variable as a selected index value is actually -1. So you can go to the last tutorial to see that. So we have to handle the situation that if there is no selection, then we have to change our code to prevent that situation, right? So we have to add a if condition here. So if list box 1 dot selected index equals -1, that would be the condition. Then I'll remove this closing braces from here, closing bracket, and obviously I'll put this up into this thing. So if I have that, what I want is basically, or maybe I would leave that and just press enter to put up a message here to say if this is it, then message box dot show would display please select city from the list box. Before or rather say from the list box, and then click on the remove button. So this is the message that should show up while we are doing it, and following this if condition will be an else construct, and here obviously this code, the execution code, would be in the else. So this code where we pick up the position, in fact we obviously have to move this condition up there as well. So here we can say obviously we have this int position which picks up the selected index right over here. We can put a condition here as list box 1 dot selected index equals -1, or we can even say that position equals -1, because we essentially have, or we can say that position equals -1. So either way we can use either this condition or we can use the value in the variable over here. So either of them would do the work for us. So if this condition is true, that the value of the selected index is equal to -1, then obviously we will have this, and here the else constitutes the functionality which we have to remove the item from this particular position. So obviously this message displays the position, as you can see, and this statement over here removes that item using the remove at property, remove at function, or you can call it the remove at method, which takes position as a parameter. So this position parameter will determine which item has to be removed. So at the moment we don't have a corresponding curly brace here, so let's put that back. So now we have that we see that there's no errors over here, and this is what we have done so far. So we will execute this again to test our code. Meanwhile, before we go there and we test it all at once, can we also do a bit more addition to our form and the code before we execute this? So for that purpose we will extend this example a little bit. We will make a copy of this. Well, obviously the easy way thing is you can obviously drag the list box from the list to create another list box over here. I would simply select these two for saving some time, and press Ctrl C, which is a copy command, and then press Ctrl V to create a copy of this list box and also this label over there. This label I would rename it, rather I don't need to rename the label, but at least I need to change the text property here to something called words. Now I'll explain why we are doing it. Basically our objective here is now to have another set of list box. Now this example basically captures the city, and it captures the words that you have in a particular city. So this would capture the number of wards in that city. So in order to do that, obviously we would need another set of input box, so which would be asking the user to enter the number of wards in a particular city. Now these wards are just like a city is divided into different municipal wards. So these municipal wards basically constitutes the lowest unit of municipal governance, which is obviously the structure of a local government. So a particular city might be having anywhere between 10 to 50 wards, but this is all hypothetical figure, so don't consider this figure real at all. So we will have the number of wards in a particular city corresponding to that city. So here we will capture that information, and we'll see when we are obviously adding the city to it. Obviously we would also like to add the number of wards to it. So when we do that, we would just add another statement over here. So when you say please enter the city name as in the input box, and then you are picking up that input into city, I'll copy paste the same code to create another set of code here, and this will be capture the number of wards in a city. So basically this is the code here. We'll just change this to please enter number of wards in input box. Okay, now in this obviously this variable here that we will be using is wards. Obviously we will be using it further. So we have string type wards. Now basically what we need to do here is simply the variable wards actually should be considered as integer, because the number is going to be a countable number. It will be a natural count from 1 to whatever number of maximum number of wards a city can have. But we will for the time being leave it as string, and I'll tell you why. Because if we make it as integer, then I have to re-type this into, I have to convert this into string back again when I'm adding this into a list box. So when you add any value to a list box, it is treated as a string value, even if it is displayed as a number. So just to save that conversion and reconversion, we will leave it as string, although you can make it as int. And one of the reasons of making it as int, and I'll tell you why you can make it as int, if you want to add these number of words right here while you are entering them, you can do that. Just like while you are running in the loop, you can actually have an addition of the words into one sort of a variable which accumulates all the number of words. So it keeps on adding number of words by saying something like just for the display I can say that total words plus is equal to WARD words. Now in this case, since it is string value, I have to convert this into an integer value, which I can do definitely by using the convert command, right? So I can say convert dot, and I can say to int to int 16. That would be sufficient for me. So I can just do that. But I rather would prefer to do this separately because I also want to demonstrate a for loop to you. So in that case, I would obviously take this entry out from here, and we will do it separately as a for loop, which is fine. So at this point of time, what we have done is we have just added another set of code to allow us to enter the number of wards in every city. So here we have please enter the number of wards in the city in input box. So that's basically what we are doing here. The input box, obviously this code has to be please enter number of wards. We'll call it as wards input box, and the default value here, well, if there is a city, at least it will have one ward. So you can leave it as city as a default value, but maybe if you want to put it as 0, you can put it as 0. So this 0 will be displayed there as a default value, although this default value should be any value which is the most acceptable value if you don't make any entries. Obviously won't be 0, but in any case, but we can't say that this is a very valid default value in this case, because we can't say that a particular city would have at least, or maybe if you like to put 1 here, that at least a city would have 1 ward, you can do that. Or if there is something like, okay, every city has a minimum of 2 wards or 5 wards, I don't know, you can use a default value here if you like, but we will leave it at 0 at the moment. And here obviously we also need to add list box. Now this list box 2, because we made a copy of the list box, so we have added this items dot add command, and here we are making wards. Now since I kept this ward variable as a string value, I don't need to convert. Otherwise, if I would have declared it as int, I would have to convert this into from integer back into a string value, which can be done by using a toString command. ToString command can be used to convert any variable into a string type. So as I said, in this case we don't need that, so we can leave it just like that, and it should work for us. So listbox2.items.add will have this wards added to this, and we will just demonstrate this to you how it works. Okay, so we have done these changes, and let's execute this, save it and run it. We would remove this message box next time, because it would be annoying for us to go through it every time. We'll click on add city. Please enter a city name in the input box. Okay, my city is Durban. Obviously, while I speak, I make some typo mistakes, so please bear with that. Okay, please enter the number of wards in the city in input box. So now we are supposed to enter the number of wards. Say for example, Durban has 15 wards. So we have seen that 15 obviously is showing next to Durban here, and obviously we want to capture this detail for 5 cities. Now we're going to change that as well in later stages. So enter the city name for the input box. Now again we would enter the city as Joburg. Enter the number of wards. Let's say Joburg is a big city, it has 30 wards. Another city name, we'll say Cape Town. let's say 20. Another city name, let's say Pietermaritzburg, and number of wards maybe 10. Another city, Limpopo, number of wards, let's say 8. So these are all hypothetical figures. So we have done this. Obviously we would like to test that, but I think we're still missing one code before we start testing it, because I haven't used any code to remove the entries of the wards from there. So if I remove a city, I should also be removing the ward from there. So we are basically missing one code, but definitely just to demonstrate that now we have our loop running 5 times. So we have captured 5 cities over here, and one thing, yes, we can demonstrate is that if we click remove button, because we added that code over here, if you remember, we added this if construct over here. So if listbox dot selected index is equal to -1, which means that you haven't made a selection, it will display a message to you that please select a value from the list box, and it won't execute this remove command. This command remove will not be executed. So as a result of that, we won't get that error we had last time. We had an exception thrown, so we can handle that exception. We will be covering up exception handling probably, I think, later in this semester, or probably in the next semester in ISTIN 212 module. So I'm not very sure about that, but we can use some exception handling code as well to prevent certain errors. Maybe I'll demonstrate a small code later on while I'm doing other examples. Okay, so if we click on remove, it says please select a city from the list box, and then click on the remove button. So okay, so if we do that, we don't get that exception error or that crash error that we had last time, simply because we have incorporated this code over here, this if and else construct, to prevent that error from being occurring. So just to demonstrate that, so far our code will just remove a particular city from here, and if I select the last one, or maybe I'll select the first one. So as you can see, the first one obviously is Durban, and if we say remove, it says you have selected the item position index 0. So this is to be made clear that the first item obviously is having a index value of 0, and the second one has it 1, and the third one has it 2, and so forth. So you have to be aware of that. So in that case, we see that our Durban has been removed, but the corresponding number of wards for Durban are still there, because we didn't add the remove code for that in the list box 2. So we'll add that code, plus we'll also increment some more code to this interface in order to make it to demonstrate another set of looping and another concept of accumulation. So what we will do is we will add another button here. So I will add another button, and this button would be used to display probably a total of the existing total wards. So what we are doing here is we are saying, okay, this button over here we are using to display a total of wards that we have into our system. So here, this is here. I mean, I normally like to display it just to indicate, although it's not a very professional or a standard style of showing up your buttons, but just to sort of like indicate that okay, next we are going to have a text box to display the total number of words that we have. So this is our text box, and we will display the number of words into it, total of words into it. So okay, so let's do that. So first thing is, in remove city button that we had here, we were removing that item from list box 1, but we were not removing the item from the list box 2, the number of words. So obviously we'll have list box 2 here, dot items, dot remove that, and the same position, the variable will be used to remove a particular item from that position. So this will remove item from the list box 2. So that issue that we had when we were removing the city, our word number, corresponding word number for that city was still existing there. So now we will be able to remove that, because in list box 2 we have added a remove at command as well. Alright, so that's what we have done. Now other thing is, we'll demonstrate that, but before we go that far, let's also try to do one more thing. So yeah, so we have added we basically have added a button here, total words. Now this button we have added, and before creating the double clicking on it to create an event handler, we would change the name of this button, because that that creates a extra work for us to go and change code in designer and all that things. So we'll rather prefer to do that in first place. So we will call it as total button. So this is a total button that we have created. So we change the name property here, and once we have done that, once we'll double click on it, we'll see that a total button click event procedure, event handling procedure has already been created. And what are we supposed to do here? We are supposed to do a total of the number of words that we have in the whole list. Okay, so in that case, and I would use this opportunity to also demonstrate for loop to you. So this is to accumulate a total of number of words in all the cities. So what are we trying to do is, we are trying to do a total of sum total of all the words that we have in the list box that we have captured into the city list box. So we are going to do that, and in order to do that, we are using a for loop. So we create a for loop. A for loop starts with int, as you have seen in the slides as well. For int I, this is the variable name, a counter sort of a variable for a for loop. I told you in the previous lecture as well that your for loop is a very compressed form of loop. So normally in a typical while loop, you have obviously a separate statement for declaring a counter, then you have another line of code for a condition, and then finally you have incrementing code as well, where you say somewhere, just to compare the while loop here, you have declared this counter somewhere obviously on the top here. So you have to declare a counter, then you have to have a condition, and once this condition returns a boolean true or false, and then you execute the loop, the body of the loop, and finally you increment your counter to make this loop iterate, to make this loop run until the condition here becomes false. So this is the logic of a normal while loop. Now if you can compare that with the for loop, you will see that in for you have declared and counter, well, you can call it counter as well, but normally just to save typing, programmers like to declare it as int I and j and k and so forth. So we'll stick to that practice, but you can freely call it anything. So here we have this we put a semicolon, and then we says the condition is till I is less than, and here obviously we'll make it dynamic because in future we might even have either you can say that I is less than 5, yes, you can do that, but we'll try to also make it flexible so it can have less than 5 or more than 5 number of cities. So it will left to the discretion of the user to have as many cities of data as possible as they like. So rather than having it as 5, we will say I is less than, and we will keep it dynamic. So we will say I is less than list box. Obviously we'll say list box 2 over here dot items dot count. So we have this method of list box. We'll say we'll say I is less than list box 2 dot items dot count, and then we have I plus plus. So this is our increment operator, which obviously would increment the for loop. So look at the statement clearly once again. We have this for loop, and we have the opening and curly braces over here. So we have created int I is equal to 0, I is less than list box 2 dot items dot count. So this particular command here would count the number of items. This count property would actually count the number of items in the list box 2, and if we have 5 entries, this would be translated into 5 like in this example. Or if we have different set of entries, it will automatically count the number of entries, and it will the for loop will execute accordingly. So if we change the nature of this program such that it becomes flexible enough to and we will do that next, where it asks the user whether you want to add more, or you want to you have the decision to add as many as you like into the loop. So in that case, the for loop will only execute that much number of times. So here we are demonstrating an accumulation, right? So basically this code over here is to accumulate total of words. So we have done that, and what are we doing? Basically we are writing the code as total okay, I guess we have to declare this variable right on the top here, which we don't have it yet. So we'll say int total words. I did say that a good place to initialize this is into the form load event. Total words is equal to 0, as we did with the counter earlier as well. Now I'm just removing this message from here because we have already served the purpose of figuring out that this form.load event is the first event that is executed when your program runs. So we had this message box to demonstrate that. Essentially there will be some other mechanisms of figuring out whether your system has successfully executed, and one way of doing that is through using another set of specialized form, which is called which is known as the splash screen. So a splash screen is a specific form which contains some basic information, which can also be used as a welcome screen, or it can be used as a screen which provides you some version information related to the program, related to some copyright information, and all that constitutes the a splash screen, which we'll do in multiforms when we do the next topic of multiforms. So here we are, and then we have obviously created a variable called total wards, and we will be saying total wards is equal to total wards plus whatever the items are in the list box. So either we can do that, so we'll say this thing total wards plus something which I'll show you now, or we can say total wards plus is equal to, which is called a shorthand assignment increment operator, which is reducing our code, and we'll say list box dot items. So it is list box 2 dot items. Now our list box basically is an array, as I said earlier, and items, all the items are demonstrated as a list of array here. So we will be using the square brackets to pick up every element of that list box right over here. So we have this, and we will be using this set of code in order to do that. So total wards plus is equal to list box dot list box 2 dot items. Okay, now the issue here is, and this is being displayed by this red line, wavy line here, which tells us that this list box 2 dot items array is displaying values which is basically not an integer, and you cannot do a plus equal to, that means a summation operator or accumulation operator an accumulation of process on any value which is not integer. So what it is suggesting us, it is suggesting us that these values of the list box are treated as string values or non-integer values. So we need to convert them into integer. So we will be using convert command here. So we'll say convert dot int we'll say to int 16 or int 32, whatever we prefer. This will go in brackets. So what we have done is we have converted this list box items value, which obviously are treated as textual values of an object, not as integer values, into int 16. So basically they will be converted into 16-bit integer, and that is when our total wards will accumulate all the values while we are executing this loop. So plus equal to means that total wards is equal to total wards plus the next value that comes up from the items list into the list box 2. Now remember, our list box 2 contains the number of wards, so it will pick up the number of wards and it will keep on adding them into the total wards variable. So this is what we have done so far, and finally once we have done this, we want to display that into a text box. So we added a text box to the form interface. So textbox1.text property will be now displaying the total wards. Now remember, this total ward is a integer. It's an integer type variable, and the text property of a textbox1 actually displays only string type values, string type variable values. So we have to convert that into string. So that is what we have to do. So we have to convert that into string. So that's what we did. So we converted these value into string type. So total wards to string, and obviously textbox1.text will be displaying it. So what we have done so far, on the click of that total button, we'll be executing this. On the click of this total wards button, we'll be executing this event procedure total button underscore click, and this will be running a for loop to accumulate total number of wards in all the cities. So we'll look at the for loop again. We'll say this is a declaration of your counter, int I is equal to 0. This is the condition checking that happens where I is less than listbox2.items.count. So as many number of items would be there. Since we are starting up the counter with 0, we'll obviously be looking at any number of count, so it will be less than that count. So obviously if we are having 5 items, this will be executing from 0 to 4, because the count would obviously start from 0. So the count will give you a value of, obviously in this case it will give you the value of 5, but since we are starting and the condition says I is less than count, so obviously this value will translate into I is less than 5, so which will be executing it from 0 to 4 times, which will be 5 executions. And then after that we have an incremental counter increment operator over here, which is your I++. So we have spoken about that there can be different kind of incrementations. A for loop can also have a decrementation, where the for loop can run in reverse direction, where you are starting from a higher value and you are running something called I minus, in certain cases, like a countdown counter. So there are different ways where you can use a particular counter. So in this case we have it as plus, we are running it as a forward counting loop. So this is an example of a for loop. It's very compact, and this will accumulate the values of the list boxes into total wards, this integer type variable, and then finally it will be allocating this value into a text box to display. Now since this is integer value, it has to be converted to string in order to display that into a text box. So let's do the demonstration of that, and then we'll move to the next step of it. So let's start. So we have added a city. Please enter a city name into the import box. We'll just follow the same pattern that we had there. I really love Durban, so Durban comes first. Enter number of wards, 15. Another city, we'll say Joburg. Number of cities, 30. Enter another city over here. Number of wards, sorry, was 30. The next city is going to be PMB. Now PMB has probably 12 wards. Well, I'm not specific about the numbers, can't remember that. And the next one is going to be our Cape Town. Cape Town will have probably 20. And then we have another one, which is Limpopo. I think we had 8. It can be any number. So this is what we have. We have populated a list of 5 cities with the respective wards in those cities, and just to demonstrate the functionality, we can select a particular city, we can remove that city. So you have selected item position index number 4, so you can see this is the 5th item, but since it counts from 0, so it counts from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that is the index position. We'll say this is just for demonstration. Now you have seen that it has taken out the city name, plus also it has taken out the ward entry for that city. So now we are left with certain number of wards. So if we now say, we can obviously add another city to it. If we want to add again, we can add another city to it, or we can just leave it there. So probably we don't want to run this again, otherwise we have to repeat the whole entry. We'll say total number of wards here. So as you can see, we have 4 cities because we removed 1 already, but since we added the dynamic code here, we didn't hard code or loop to only run like 5 number of times. we will be still able to run a program. So you can see we had the listbox2.items.count. So listbox2.items.count now will give us probably, as you can see, 4 items. So now we'll say total number of words, and you will see that your program still runs. In another situation, this would have thrown an error if you would have done anything like here to say that the for loop is running from I is equal to 0 to I less than 5. Say for example, we hard coded it to 5 to run it for 5 times. So you would have said I is less than 5, and this loop, this would have given an error because we don't have 5 items here. We only have 4 items. So now this automatically adjusts itself accordingly to the number of items into the list box. So we have to be at times very careful when we are creating these loops, and if we can make our loop a dynamic loop in terms of like the counter can be picked up in a dynamic situation, like in this case you can do a count, a real-time count, whatever the present situation of count is, and the loop will execute accordingly. So that is a good strategy to have a dynamic counter which can pick up the count in a dynamic situation depending on what the number is while you are running the program, rather than hard coding this value into the loop. So this is what we have done, and we will obviously, as I demonstrated to you, this program runs and shows us the total words in all the cities that we have in the list box. So this is what we have done so far, and I have demonstrated you for loop as well. I demonstrated the while loop, and I have contrasted the difference between these two loops. You can see definitely your for loop is much more compact. There's fewer line of code when you are implementing a for loop compared to a while loop. So that's something which is an advantage of using a for loop. Okay, next what we're going to do is we will be dynamically changing this program further to leave it to the choice of the user how many cities you want to have. Now for at the point you have seen that we have hard coded this loop to run for 5 times. So that is why we have, while the counter is less than 5, we started from 0 obviously, and we executed it 5 times. 5 times it asked you to enter a city name, and every time you entered the city name, then it asked you to enter the number of word in that city, and that is why we added up that entries into the list box, and finally using the for loop we did a calculation of that. Also we added little bit of code, if construct over here, to control a situation if the user hasn't selected any value. So in that case, this selected index returns a -1 value, and we can control that error by showing a message box to direct the user to select a value first. Once the value has been selected, that means if the selected index is not equal to -1, then you execute the else statement here, and as a result of that you are adding the value, you are removing the values from the list box. So only if the value is not -1, which means the user has made a selection, then only it will, and the position variable will hold a position integer value starting from 0 if you have selected the first item, and so forth. It will remove that item from the list box. So this is how you can manipulate your list box. Now let's go to the next level of demonstration, where we want to demonstrate that how you can make this program more flexible to ask the user, how many cities the user want to add. Now this can be done in 2 ways. Either you can simply have another message box over here, right over here, to ask the user that you can ask the user that through an input box that how many cities you want to add. So you could say simply like a message box dot show to say or rather please enter the number of cities total number of cities. So you can say you can enter the total number of cities, and then using an input box you can capture the number of cities right over here. Where you can say in this case it will be an integer type, so you can say int city, or you can call it as number of city. The variable name will be number of city, and here you will be adding the number of cities. Obviously if we have to convert this into, you have to convert that into integer, because this will be an integer value. So you have to convert that into integer, and then you can pick up the number of cities. So now here in while loop, while you are saying number of 5, you would be basically using the number of city variable here. So in that case you can make it slightly dynamic, where you can say, okay, let the user in first place tell you that we want to capture details for 3 cities or 5 cities or 10 cities or 100 cities, and accordingly the loop will run, because now the counter will be running till the number of the counter is less than number of city. So if you want to put 5 cities, obviously you will have this running from 0 to 5 only. So this is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it obviously is I'm just commenting these entries because I want to show another way of doing it, while I would also be demonstrating another concept which is quite important. So here we will be doing something called, we'll be using a class, and that class is called dialog result class. So dialog result is a way where you can actually capture the decision from the user about displaying something, whether you want to continue or you don't want to continue, you want to add another value or you don't want to add another value. So this can be done using a dialog result. So dialog result is a class, and we are instantiating an object variable of that, which we are calling as dr. It can be any name, you can give it any name you feel like. So we have dialog result dr which is equal to, and the new is a what is called a default constructor to create or to instantiate any variable. So while we are declaring it, we can also instantiate that object variable using the new keyword. So we are saying dialog result dr is equal to new dialog result, and this becomes this is called a default constructor declaration, where we are calling a default constructor of dialog result class to initiate a object variable called dr, and this is all done in one line. So we are declaring it as well as initializing an object variable of this dialog result class called dr. So we will be using it further down now, and we will be using it in our loop. So again, coming to our while loop here, coming to our while loop, and obviously I have removed this because I have commented this entry. We are trying to use a different way of doing it now. Okay, so now what we are doing here is, rather than using these two values as I demonstrated to you, we will be using a dialog result object variable dr. So we will be saying and here, since we want this at least to execute once, because uh, after execution of once, we would like the user to be asked a question whether you want to add another city or you don't want to add a city. So at least the user will add one city, and then we would ask the user a question whether you want to add another city or not. So in order to do that, we will slightly modify our while loop, obviously, and I'll also demonstrate that this is why we need a do while loop. So we will obviously use do set of loop here over here, and this will just remove at the moment. So we are using the do, and obviously here we are saying while condition. So this becomes the typical do while loop again, as I demonstrated to you earlier, and this makes a lot of sense because here we will be using that question that we are asking now, whether we want to add we want the user to have the selection of a new value or not. So that is why we will be using this value over here. So we will say dr equals dialog result dot yes. So we will be picking up the yes value from the dialog result over here, and once we have picked up that value, then we will be using it to ask user a question about that. So let's just a second. Okay, we don't have it here. Alright, so while we are adding this while dr equals dialog result dot yes, I think we forgot a semicolon here. We will be capturing this value to execute this loop while the dialog result is yes. So that means as far as the user will be keep on pressing a yes button, we will be continuing this loop. And in order to capture the input from the user, here in this loop we will say dr is equal to message box dot show. Now you will learn a few more parameters if you haven't really gone through this in this typical implementation of for loop. Your show method in message box actually is overloaded. Either you can give just one message to it, that do you want to add another city to the list. We are asking a question here. So do you want to add another city to the list? So this is a default constructor or default method. It's an overloaded method. So this is where it takes just one parameter and it does the work for you. It will display a message that happens in a message box normally, but in this case we will show other parameters that can be added to a message box. So what are these parameters? We'll put a comma, and then next one is going to be the caption. So we can display, first we display a message, the second one is a caption. So we can say the caption is confirm city addition. So we can say we are confirming the city addition. This is going to be a message box title for us, that we are confirming the city addition over here. The next one is going to be the button. So we can say message box sorry, we have it here in the quotes, and here we're going to have basically, so this was the caption. Next one is going to be the button, message box dot button. So buttons, message box dot buttons would have different combinations. You can choose OK, OK cancel, retry cancel, yes and no cancel. So here just for the sake of this thing, if we say yes no cancel, you can simply cancel this, but in our situation we would rather go with yes and no. So we'll say yes no. So you'll have a message box with two buttons displayed on it, yes and no. As I said, if you would have chosen yes, no, cancel, you would have three set of buttons. One was yes, one was no, and the other one would have been a cancel button. And now here you can say, you can put a message box icon. So message box icon can be any of the icons from the list, depending on what kind of message box is this. Now since we are asking a question, if you are giving a information, you can have a information icon, or you can have a exclamation icon. You can have a warning icon if you are giving a warning to the user, but since we are asking a question, we will leave it as question. So we have added this question icon here, and this message box basically will have two buttons, yes and no, and depending what you have clicked, it will pick up the value into dr. So your dr object variable, which is a dialog result object variable, will pick up the value, and in this while loop we are testing the value. We say while dr is equals dialog result dot yes, means as far as the user will be clicking yes, the dialog result will contain dialog result dot yes value. So you will be checking this, and while the value of dialog result will be yes, the loop will continue to execute. Once the value is no, or it is not yes, then only obviously the loop will break. So this is an example of a do loop while, or as we call it as a do while loop, where you would obviously enter the first city name, and only after that there will be a question asked from the user through this message box that do you want to add another one. If you say yes, then the while loop will continue next iteration, and every time it has added up. So this is an excellent example of a do loop while example as well, to see that at least it will execute once, and then only you would be able to add a city name, and then you will be able to ask a question to the user whether you want to add another one or you don't want to add another one. Okay, so this is a situation we have right here. So let's save it by clicking on save all, and then let's start to execute this again. Okay, so we have a program here. We'll say add city, enter the name of the city in the input box. Durban goes first. Enter the number of words in Durban, 15 I said. Do you want to add another city to the list? So now, rather than running 5 times or a specific number of times, we have made it flexible to ask the user, do you want to add another city? If I'll say yes, then it again asks me to enter a city name in the input box. Obviously I can enter another city name here, enter the number of words. Do you want to add another city? I would say this time I'll say yes again, and this time I'm adding Cape Town. Number of words in Cape Town. Okay, so now again I have added 3 cities, and obviously I don't want to continue to add any more further cities, although I can add any number of cities. I just have to click yes or no. So we have added 3 of these just to demonstrate, and we would say now no this time. So once you say no, obviously since we had this set of code over here, while dialog result variable, which is dr in this example, equals dialog result dot yes, since the user pressed the no button, this condition of dr obviously would not return yes. So dialog result dot no will be returned in this case if you click on the no button, and obviously the value of dr, if it is not equal to yes, the loop obviously will stop, because this condition becomes false, and if this condition becomes false, then obviously we are here. So now obviously we are here, and in this case as I said, we have the flexibility. So say for example I want to remove one city from here, like Cape Town. I can remove it, obviously this is just to demonstrate that the item index position is 2, although it looks at it appears at in a natural count at number 3 because we count from 0. And you remove that item from there. Again you can click on add city, and you can add another city over here. So this time I'm adding Limpopo. Okay, please enter the number of wards. Now, Limpopo has 8 wards. So we have added. Do you want to add another city to the list? I can say yes or no. Again, I prefer to say no, so I obviously can. So now you can see that my program is more flexible to handle the user input, so I can add any city anytime. I can remove any city anytime. And my program is more flexible, so I can, in a sense, interact with the program in a more dynamic way. So this is one of the objectives of a program, that a program should not be rigid. It should always be open to interaction with the user. User should be able to have the flexibility of adding a new value or removing a value from it, or making any changes to the value. So this should be allowed in a program. So that's just to demonstrate the concept of loops, the concept of implementing decision making, and also the concept of adding dialog result as one of the components that we demonstrated right here. So once we click on total wards, obviously a total number of wards are displayed over here. So you can see that a program becomes more flexible in that case. So what we have learned, we have learned certain concepts. The concept of, first, we have come across how to differentiate between a system generated event procedure, like this is a system event procedure which is normally used to initialize variables, compared to a user defined event procedure, which is like clicking on a button, which executes certain codes clicking on the button. We also demonstrated the behavior of our loops. We saw the execution of while loop, and we also saw the execution of a do while loop, or we also call it as do loop while at times. So a do loop while or a do while loop has been demonstrated, and we also compared this to another loop called a for loop. So a for loop, as I said, is a compressed form of your while loop, where you have initialization, condition checking, and incrementation all happening in one single statement, in just one line of code. And we also saw the concept of accumulation. So accumulating is when you are running a loop and you are accumulating a value, from a list of values, you are accumulating a total, or maybe you can further calculate average of something. So this is the process of accumulation, where you are using a plus equal to assignment increment operator to accept all the values into a variable here. Here this list box, as I said, is treated as an array. So that is why you can accumulate all the values of a array by using the items property with a index number in a square bracket. So first this loop will execute with 0. So item 0 gives you the first value of the list items in the list box. So this would obviously give you the first item wards in this case, and this list box 2 represent the number of wards, remember that. So here we can calculate a cumulative total, or we can do accumulation of the total of all the items in the list box, and then we display that into a text box by converting that into a string value. So these were some of the concepts. The other concept that came across was to make it more flexible using a dialog result class and creating a object variable of that class, and then using that to execute your loop in a more flexible manner, where if the dialog result dr is equal to dialog result.yes, the loop will execute. If you click a no button, the loop will stop. We also demonstrated here that your message box can take more parameters, not just a simple message parameter that we have seen so far. And we have seen that your first item obviously is the message. The second is the caption right on the top. You must have noticed that while we executed it. You can obviously see that in the recording once again. And then here you have the set of message box buttons, whether you select yes and no button, or you can have different combination of buttons over there. And basically finally you have a icon here. So you have a particular icon, message box icon to be displayed here. So we explained all these concepts, and that's it. Thanks very much for being so patient. It did become a longish lecture. I'll come with the next topic, which is going to be random numbers and multiform projects. So we'll look at multiforms, how to create multiple forms and switch between them, and also look at an interesting example of random numbers, and that's it. So just signing off for now. Thanks very much. You can put your comments into the discussion forum, and I'll look at that and see what actually is needed to be improved upon. Thanks very much.